More in the liquid dew of youth. Smopit Fairy Tales Part 5. Chapter 13. Back to the Fuhrer. Thatch laid back on the couch. Samum was curled up next to him with their fingers interlocked. Samum's body heat silenced any demons that might have haunted Thatch's mind. He knew that things were about to get worse, for everyone. He didn't suspect that he was really going to get away with killing Cecil, and even if he did, Cecil's disappearance would have people asking questions. The Corps would come under scrutiny, but Piroska would silence the Senate. The American people at large, though, they'd have questions that might rattle Piroska. They wonder how he could keep a country together if he couldn't even manage his generals. Thatch pushed that to the back of his mind. A smooth sail with Samum, even if just for a day or a few hours, was enough to ease him. He didn't see anything wrong with being content for a while.
Have you ever read the book this was based on?
No, I didn't know it was based on one.
It's pretty funny, about the same plot. They're actually doing a pretty good job so far.
Did it have the same name?
Yeah.
The protagonist, a young Austrian painter trying to get into art school, walked around Vienna, trying to get people to give him a high five. After one particularly embarrassing engagement where the protagonist was tricked with a down low too slow, he swore under his breath that one day he would be a great leader, and he'd make everyone put their hand up and say, "Hi, Hitler," and he wouldn't high-five them back. That'll teach him.
My mom's reading another book this guy wrote right now.
Samum looked up at him.
What's that one about?
It's, an erotic novel about Eva Braun.
What's this guy's obsession with Hitler?
I think it's satire.
It's bad taste.
Well, you're laughing at it.
That doesn't mean it's not just lowbrow dick jokes.
I guess you're not wrong.
When the movie ended, Samum tapped Thatch's leg.
I want to make a cake.
A Christmas cake?
Thatch smiled at the thought of warm, gooey, fresh from the oven, baking marvel.
Yeah. Then we should do something Christmassy.
I'm down.
Samum got up and pulled out what they'd need to bake. She handed Thatch ingredients, one by one, and had him stir them into a bowl. Thatch licked raw batter from the bowl while Samum wasn't looking. He noticed a painting of a willow tree above her stove. It was beautifully painted. Thatch leaned in to inspect it, thinking it was no less magnificent when he realized it was a print. The branches and ropes sunk down over a lake, and petals from the flowers and lily pads swam on the surface. Samum set the cake in the oven.
All right, so we need to turn the oven off in half an hour.
What should we do until then? Make cookies?
I think we should save that for Christmas Eve. That way we can leave some out for Santa.
I like the way you think, but what are we going to do?
Want to build a snowman?
Yep.
They put on their coats and headed to the front lawn.
Where do you want to put it?
Thatch looked at the yard.
We can just set it in front of the alley between our houses so we can share it.
I like that idea.
Samum squatted down and packed a snowball, then started rolling it until it was large enough to be used as a base while Thatch rolled the other two.
You know, I like being able to talk to you again.
Thatch smiled with a warm heart.
Me too.
He reached his arm over her shoulders and pulled her in, planting a kiss on her forehead. He looked at the stacked up snowballs.
So what are we going to use for his arms and face?
Are you sure it's a he?
If not, we're going to have to make her boobs.
I think I have some charcoal.
Are you regifting what Santa gave you last year to a snowman?
Nah, the Krampus left them.
I thought the Krampus brought whips and chains and drugged bad children back to hell.
Well, maybe you can tie me up later tonight and come a little early for Christmas.
It might be early, but it won't be quick.
Samum wiggled her shoulders.
Good. I'm going to grab the coals.
Okay.
Thatch reached for his cigarettes as she walked into the house, but decided against it. He had all he needed with Samum. The smokes could wait. He went and dug under the porch for a couple of thin antennas and part of a ripped-up tarp from his junk pile. Samum returned with enough coal to pop eyes and a smile into the snowman, and Thatch stuck the antennas in for arms and wrapped the tattered tarp around his neck for a scarf.
Now he just needs a hat.
Does he need a hat?
Yes, he needs a hat. It's cold out.
Okay.
Thatch walked to his trash can and pulled out a hand-sized box. He ripped the corners on the sides and pulled the top flap out, producing a crude cardboard trapper hat. He placed it on the snowman's head and nodded.
Now he's even got a hat to keep his ears warm.
Samum put her hand up to high five, and Thatch's hand met it in the middle.
We're a good team.
Yeah, we are.
He smiled down at her. Samum looked over at the snowman.
We should be sculptors.
Making snowmen for the boys and girls of Mars.
Oh, absolutely.
Samum smiled. She grabbed Thatch's hand and pulled him into the front door.
Oh, before we go in...
Samum pointed to the top of the doorway. Thatch looked up to find a small ornament of mistletoe and holly. He smiled and looked back down at Samum, who had her lips perked and her eyes closed. He leaned down and drug his bottom lip across hers. She kissed him back and squeezed his torso. Thatch opened the door and kept his lips on hers until they were inside with the door closed. Samum patted Thatch's chest and told him,
So it turns out you're a master of all the arts. You can paint, play guitar, and sculpt.
Thatch held onto her, warm in her arms.
I do what I do, and I do it well.
So...
Samum chewed on her bottom lip.
I know you're under no obligation, but can I have that painting back?
Oh, which one?
The one I put back in your room in Casal.
The memories of that night, of Samum's drunken screaming and scandalous abhorrent behavior came rushing back into Thatch's mind. He asked for clarification.
The one you threw in my room screaming, here's your shit?
Samum grew self-conscious. She knew that she had acted foolishly that night, and knew that she was wrong. But looking back, it seemed almost like a dream, like it all happened to someone else.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that might be a little rough.
His voice quivered. The ants started to wake back up. They were rallying in halls and posting on the internet to organize their protests and revolts.
I mean, if you don't...
Not wanting to start a fight, she attempted to sort out her words carefully.
You don't have to if you don't want to. I'll understand. Your art's precious, and if you don't think I deserve to have it, then it's okay.
Thatch took a long, slow breath.
It's not that. I burnt it.
Samum pushed herself off of him with both arms at full force. Her desire to keep the evening calm and in high spirits had flown out the window, and she was set on a warpath.
You what?
She screamed. The hate radiating off her face could be tasted in the air. The ants skipped the protest and stormed the Capitol building with pitchforks, torches, and rifles, and the soldiers hadn't a chance in hell.
I thought we were done with, and I didn't want to look at it or anything that even reminded me of you.
You're a fucking idiot!
Thatch sighed. His happy heart's power switch had been flipped to misery and gloom. The ants raised their flag over the Capitol and danced over the dead soldiers and politicians. She bent over and stuck her finger at him.
I can't believe you!
Samum,
Thatch made an attempt to defend himself.
you threw it away screaming at me.
I was angry!
Thatch said,
And?
like it was a comeback. Samum scowled like an angry god preparing to smite an entire world.
You had to make such a big deal out of things. I was willing to just hang out and be cool, but you had to ruin the night.
Wait,
Thatch put his hands up, showing her his palms.
how did I ruin the night?
You were being too jealous, and I can't have any male friends because of how overbearing and misogynistic you are.
Thatch called an end to dealing with the ants. He sent panzers and dive bombers into the occupied areas, obliterating anything near the insects. Then, when there was only rubble and blood, and the surviving ants were living in caves, trying to rally an insurgency, shock troops were sent in. Every man, woman, and child ant was rounded up like cattle, forced to dig their own mass grave, then shot in the back of the head and kicked in to rot in the stench and filth of the others. He then invaded all of the surrounding nations of organs, the liver, the intestines, even the spleen and the gallbladder, and his troops found anyone that looked, acted, had any affiliation with, or even smelled like the ants, rounded them up in camps, and systematically slaughtered them. Thatch fired back.
You told me he was being aggressive, not to mention you two fucking disappearing for 40 fucking minutes, drunk in your room. What the fuck was I supposed to do?
Fuck you!
No, you know what? Fuck you!
He shot his fingers at her.
Fuck you! I tried to come over and apologize about that, and you shoved it right back in my face. That was some of the cruelest shit anyone has ever said to me. And what did you say to me? You told me to go fucking kill myself.
Samum grimaced and nodded through the anger.
Okay?
She stomped to the kitchen, throwing off her coat on the way.
Samum, wait.
Thatch walked after her. She yanked a steak knife out of the drawer.
Go to fucking hell, Thatch!
The blade plunged into her arm, directly under the elbow between the radius and ulna, all the way through to the other side, and ran down to the carpals, then back up and down again. Samum got in a good 6 rotations, slicing the veins, severing the nerves, opening her artery, letting her lifeblood pour onto the ground before Thatch pushed her to the floor and yanked the knife away. She collapsed into the pool of her own blood. The floors, cabinets, counters, and even a bit of the ceiling were painted red. Her world became cold, and she couldn't stop herself from shivering. Her skin turned pale, and the blue in her lips showed through her lipstick. Her eyes swelled and tried to push tears, but no water came. She couldn't cry, but Thatch did, He ripped off his belt and squeezed it around Samum's arm, just under the shoulder. He couldn't manage to get anything out of his mouth besides.
No. Thatch
noticed she was mouthing something, but he didn't take the time to figure out what. He grabbed her by the shoulders and lifted her up. After a step, he slipped on her blood and plummeted to the floor. He jumped back up and slowly dragged her off the linoleum kitchen floor. When he reached the carpet, he threw her over his shoulders, careful not to touch the wound, and rushed her to his car. He fumbled for the keys in his pocket and slid her into the seat. The makeshift tourniquet cut off most of the blood flow to Samum's arms, but the scarlet fluid still pumped out over the inside of the sloop. He was careful not to hit her arm putting on the seatbelt. Her muscles, nerves, and veins hung from the gash like crimson tinsel. Thatch jumped in the driver's seat, roared up the engine, and shot down the road. The hospital was 20 miles away. Thatch was gunning for 10 minutes. He looked over at Samum. Her eyes were closed, but her face was twisted like she was weeping. And she was still mouthing words. He took his hands off the shift knob to squeeze her hand. He clenched his teeth and prayed to whoever was listening that he'd get her to the doctors on time. He swerved around the other vehicles on the highway. Those slow-driving fucks were getting in the way. He came up to a pair that were blocking the road with their 4-piston snowmobiles. Thatch didn't waste any time with them. He ran the sloop into the shoulder, bounced with the rumble strips, then back onto the road with the pedal to the floor. 10 seconds later, there was a siren and lights flashing behind him.
Fucking awesome!
The sloop stopped as quickly as Thatch could manage it without flipping the car. He jumped out of the door and screamed at the cop. The officer saw a screaming person covered in blood and pulled out his pistol.
Get back in the vehicle!
Thatch saw the gun pointed at him. He snarled and backed into the seat. He tried to scream down the window.
I need to get to a hospital!
But the officer didn't hear him.
Damn it!
Thatch punched the dashboard and shook the wheel. He looked over at Samum and stroked the hair away from her forehead.
It's gonna be alright, Samum. It's gonna be okay.
He felt her neck. A weak pulse still pumped.
Come on!
Thatch screamed back out the window. He looked in the mirror. The cop was using his door as a shield, and his weapon still pointed at the sloop. Thatch saw him speak into his radio.
Great.
Thatch rocked his head, realizing that he'd have to wait for backup to arrive unless he wanted to risk getting killed on the way in a high-speed chase. Thatch sat there swearing for 10 minutes until another squad car raced up behind him.
Thank you! God!
He put his hands at 10 and 2 on the wheel and waited for the cops to come up to him. When the two of them circled the car, the first one asked, with his gun still raised.
What the hell do you think?
He stopped when he saw Samum in the passenger seat.
Oh, shit!
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to fucking scream at you!
The police shouldered their weapons.
Follow me. I'll clear the road for you.
The officer jumped back in his car, lit up like a Christmas tree, and soared down the road. Thatch fired back up the sloop and tailgated him to the emergency room. He bumped the tires on the curb by the door and sprinted out to grab Samum. The officers left their cars running and went to help Thatch carry her in. When the first clerk saw her, she called for help. Samum was quickly put on a gurney and rolled away. Thatch watched her disappear into the corridors, surrounded by rubber gloves and scrubs, hoping that he had made it there in time.
So what happened?
One of the officers asked him. Thatch gave his head one sharp shake.
I don't know, man. We were having a good time. We went outside to make a snowman, then we had an argument, and she fucking stuck a knife in her arm.
Why would she do that?
The other cop asked.
I wish I knew.
Thatch gave the officers an official statement, and they let him off with a warning about the speeding. Thatch retired to the waiting room when the cops left. After what seemed like a century, a woman in white scrubs painted with blue flowers joined him. She was a little large, but not more than was acceptable for her age. Thatch guessed she was in her 50s. Her hair looked like it was originally blonde, but gray had taken claim of most of the color.
Sir?
She looked at Thatch, clipboard in hand.
Yes?
Thatch's anxiousness almost forced him out of his seat. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't force the shaking in his legs to stop.
You're here with...
Samum Nazi.
Yes. I need to ask...
Is she alright?
Yes, she'll be alright. There was almost nothing left in her forearm. She's lucky she's going to get to keep it, but she's even more fortunate to be alive.
Can I see her?
His words were fast, short, and Thatch tried not to sound desperate or stressed, but was failing miserably.
No.
The woman shook her head.
Samum is going to be in a medically induced coma for 4 days while she heals.
That didn't sound right to Thatch.
That seems a little long. I've known people to get shot in the stomach and be out sooner than that.
The nurse understood Thatch's eagerness for the woman in the other room's well-being and talked to him gently.
Well, with those kinds of torso wounds, as long as the spine isn't hurt, surgeons usually harvest organs from genetically engineered animals, normally pigs. But Samum completely severed her median nerve, and while it is fixable, it's not quite as fast.
Thatch kept his leaned forward position. He accepted what the nurse was telling him. It made enough sense to him.
So what's next?
When she's awake, she'll have to stay with us for at least 48 hours under medical supervision. This was an attempted suicide, correct?
Thatch felt guilty for Samum. He thought that maybe if he had said something different to her, or not burnt that stupid fucking painting back at the barracks, they wouldn't be in this situation now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The nurse jotted something down on her clipboard.
I do need some other information from you.
All right.
Okay. So, we pulled her medical record from the Naval Hospital. Luckily, she had her ID on her, and we notified her chain of command.
That's fucking great.
Thatch thought sarcastically.
Can you tell me exactly what happened?
Yeah, we were hanging out and having a good time. Then we got into an argument about something that happened a little more than a year ago, and she went off and told me to go to hell, and I stuck a knife in her arm. I used my belt as a tourniquet, drove her down here and handed her off.
Do you know of anything in her personal life that might have set her off?
I wish I did.
He thought that if he better knew her triggers, this might not have happened.
What about a history of mental illness?
Thatch took in a deep breath.
I couldn't tell you specific conditions, but I talked her out of killing herself a year and a half or 2 years ago.
Can you tell me about that?
Not really. I remember she was going through something, but she didn't tell me what was really going on. I just held her until she calmed down and took the knife away.
Okay.
The nurse gave Thatch a smile. It was forced, but not disingenuous.
You don't need to stay here and wait for her. If you leave me your contact information, I can have you contacted when she's ready to be seen in a few days.
Thanks.
Also, there's a restroom by the hall down there if you want to clean yourself up.
Thatch looked at himself. It didn't click that he was still soaked in Samum's blood. The red stains had started to turn brown, and his emerald skin didn't show through any of it. He said goodbye to the nurse and thanked her again before going to wash his hands. As he exited, his pocket started to buzz. The number was unlisted. He figured it was from someone at the headquarters building.
Hello?
He answered.
Lieutenant Allensworth!
A male voice asked. Thatch figured the Marine Corps was informed about Samum, and since he admitted her, needed to talk to him.
Speaking.
General Piroska needs to speak with you in his office.
Okay, I'm leaving the hospital now. I'll have to grab my uniform, then I'll be there. The fastest I can make it's an hour.
Roger.
The phone clicked. The interior of the sloop looked like a murder scene. He sat in the driver's seat and turned the ignition. He did the best he could to ignore the overbearing smell of iron. When he could no longer stand it, he lit a cigarette and cracked the window. Night had already blanketed the sky.
It's only 4.
He turned the corner towards his house and noticed lights from a police car reflecting off the trees. He had to wait until he could see his house before he could tell what was happening. Cops were in his front lawn. A fire truck sat next to them. Samum's house was nothing but smoldering ash.
What the fuck?
He asked himself, parking the car. He got out and stared at the heap of twisted ashes and black dust. The fire department had quelled the flames, but they weren't able to save anything. Only soot survived under the hissing smoke. Thatch approached the police on his lawn.
Hey, what happened?
One of the officers shook his head.
Don't know for sure. The firemen think whoever lives there left the oven on. But we're gonna have to wait for the investigators.
Thatch stared at the debris, thinking about the cake that he was never going to get to share with Samum.
Hey, so are you alright?
Asked one of the officers, noticing the blood on his shirt.
Yeah, I just got back from the hospital.
Alright.
Thatch went inside and took a quick shower. He lamented over the frequency of blood bathings he'd had that week.
They weren't even in combat.
He threw on his black, purple, and gray camouflage uniform and headed down to headquarters. Thatch badged in and walked across the building to Piroska's office suite. The civilians in the cubicle shantytown buzzed like wasps around mountains of paperwork. Thatch noticed Ramsey and Gemery eyeballing him from across the hall. His knuckles tapped Piroska's door. When he heard Piroska tell him to enter, he opened the door, stood a few feet in front of his desk at attention, and said,
Good evening, sir.
At ease.
Piroska leaned back in his chair.
Do you know why you're here?
I have an idea.
Thatch admitted, remembering that he didn't take the time to get the blood from under his fingernails.
The Tharsis Sheriff's Department found General Cecil's burnt corpse in the desert off of I-62.
Shit.
Thatch kept his bearing.
That's unfortunate.
Lieutenant, your DNA was all over him.
Thatch blankly stared into Piroska's eyes, keeping cool.
What happened?
He attacked me, sir. I was defending myself.
What?
Piroska shook his head, pretending not to understand.
But why would he do that?
I don't know, sir. I didn't even know it was him until he was already worm food.
Lieutenant, this is bad.
It certainly is.
Piroska leaned forward and interlocked his fingers on the desk. He sat for a moment, farsing thought and concern.
You say it was self-defense?
He just appeared out of nowhere, grabbing me from behind.
That doesn't make sense. I don't understand why he'd do that.
I don't either, sir.
Okay, I think we might be able to do something for you. I know you. Sergeant Major Gladewine wouldn't raise a murderer, so to keep the heat off of you, I'm going to send you to Avalon to deliver a dossier to the embassy. And hopefully, I can have this all sorted out by the time you get back. If it was someone else, it might have been easier to sweep this under the rug. But you stabbed the ACMAC.
Thatch didn't like that Piroska knew Cecil was stabbed. the body should have been burnt to a crisp. He also didn't like how he was being sent away.
Sir, I can't leave. I just took Sergeant Isaac to the hospital, and I need to be available for her.
This isn't a suggestion, Lieutenant. The administrative work is already in order. Sergeants Ramsey and John Marie will be joining you as escorts. Your shuttle leaves at 22.
But, sir...
You're dismissed.
Doing a test. Do a test, test, test. This chapter has some fucking fat stacks of words. Fat stacks of words! Let's do it!
Alrighty. Test, into the wild blue yonder. How are we at? Are we good?
Thatch. Have you read the book that this was based on? Hamlet? Sorry.
Are you regifting? Why do I have an echo? Why do I have an echo?
They watched the characters dance around the screen. The protagonist, a young Austrian... fuck it, it's this again. You got the idea for Ma? Okay. Fun fact, trivia. In universe, I wrote the book this movie was based on. Woo. Chuck LaVoki, Esquire. Sir Chuck LaVoki, Esquire. LLC. I don't know. Jesus.
And that's the furnace. Yay. Let's turn you back up so we know where we're at.
Samum said I read Hamlet!
Yes? I swear to Christ!
I read Hamlet too. They're reading Hamlet. Are you?
Okay, I think we might be able to do something for you. I know you. Sergeant Major Gladewine wasn't raised a murderer. Raid a murderer. Sergeant Major Gladewine wouldn't raid a murderer. But she would do dirty things. Take her to the stabbing cabin. Whoa, sorry. I shouldn't be talking like that inside my own mind about the Sergeant Major. Oh.
So, what are we going to use for his arms and face? Pieces of Cecil's body! No.
Okay, hi. This is Hollis. I'm reading for Samum, and this is book number 5, chapter 13? 13. Back to the Fuhrer. And, Samum is, she's herself. She's herself.
Oh, we're going to go through the whole thing in this chapter, huh? Unusual. I've never read a sex scene for you before. Oh, is this going somewhere else? I've read Hamlet. What's the snowman's name, Trip? Fun, cool. All right.
It's a few weeks later. Thatch and Samum are at her house, all curled up. They're watching it. They're actually being sweet. They're a rare moment. She's hiding the crazy.
Thatch held on to her. Thatch.
Doesn't have to be a snowman.
I do only all I can, so that I may dare to become a man. Oh no, it's like I dared. Oh damn it! I don't know what the line is.
Lovely Christmassy fun turns. Well, Tuesday night for Samum.
Samum, I know you're under no obligation, but can I have that painting back? Fuck!
Okay, Hollis had to burp.
When the first clerk saw her, she called... reading. God damn it to hell.
Da-da-da, lovely Christmas time.
I'm not frustrated, you are. Why am I no words good? Let me do a bourbon about it. Oh, okay, yeah, no, the beer's helping me read better. I just lost my fucking place. God damn it. There we go. Wait. There we go. All right, cool. Phone click. I take it away from you and stick it up your ass and pull the trigger until it goes click. The firemen think whoever lives there left the oven on, but we're gonna have to wait for the investigators. Fuck, they didn't take the cake out! That shows that they had every intention of, hanging out longer, and it makes suicide almost look dubious. Thatch. I don't know, sir. I didn't even know it was him until he was already warm food. You read Hamlet.
And that concludes A Lovely Christmas Time. Samum style.